my name is Danny and welcome to Thursday on Pagan Perspective. This week our topic is wands and athames. So obviously I am not Yucca. She has asked for a sub this week and kindly allowed me to do a video since the tools I use are a little bit different. I want to preface by saying that I can't speak for all Druids. Druids and tools, I think, generally tend to be a little less intense. Most Druids are, if it works for them, great. If it doesn't, they don't bother. It's just not worth the time or effort. I do know a fair amount of Druids who are really inspired and find great joy in Avalon myths, King Arthur, Merlin, etc. And many of those Druids have giant theatrical swords or real swords. I have never been inclined to use a sword or be attracted to that intense of a tool, so not something that I do. But it is seen with other Druids, so I wanted to mention it. Instead of an athame, I do carry around a florist pocket knife. You'll notice it's got a curved edge on the top there. This knife is incredibly sharp and very useful when planting and harvesting, when I'm collecting plant material out and about, or creating something for my ritual. I will just pull out the knife that I always have on me pretty much and use it that way. So it's definitely a more mundane tool, but it gets used in ritual settings as well. There's also a tool called a sickle. That is a sharp curved blade, kind of like a C shape, that has a small handle to it. Sometimes it's on a giant staff, but really it's usually a hand tool. This is a mundane tool that we use on the farm to clear grassy, weedy areas along fences, those weird corners along buildings. Sometimes we use it to harvest branches or specific material for forage for the livestock, or sometimes we use it to clear out noxious weeds from the pasture that would harm livestock. So that very mundane tool gets used on the farm a lot and rarely sits on my altar. During the autumn equinox though, or whenever I feel called to it, I might place that very mundane tool on my altar. It evokes great feelings of action and learning how to harvest what is necessary in your life and also cut away what isn't necessary in your life. It does both, like giving of life and destruction of life. This tool is also seen in stories about Druids, in particular the golden sickle being used by Druids to cut down the mistletoe. So there is lots of lore and history behind that tool, and many Druids find it very useful. Finally, the tool that is like a wand for me would be my staff. Now, I had a wand that I found and made, and I think I was just more called to the spirit of the tree and like the pretty carvings that were on it from the ice where it had been laying in the woods during the winter. So it just kind of sits in my sacred space and I don't actually use it as a magical tool. But my staff, on the other hand, has been very useful. So this is made from a beech tree. The wood of a staff can vary depending on the Druid, but the wood is going to be very important to that Druid. We take trees seriously. We quite enjoy connecting to the trees, their language and messages, and we choose wood with the utmost of respect and connection in mind. So this comes from a beech tree that is on the edge of an area of the Arboretum in Madison that I frequent, and it's quite large and big and has these like gnarly white branches. It's just gorgeous. A couple years ago though, it started to have disease problems and a bunch of branches fell on the ground. One of them was this one, and I picked it up, took it home, sanded it, added linseed oil, sanded it some more, and started using it as my staff. So the top has this natural C kind of shape to it, and it's perfect for where my hand likes to rest. It's a very practical, mundane tool in the sense that it works as a walking stick when I'm going over rough terrain. It's lightweight enough that I can easily move around, yet sturdy enough that it can brace me when I'm going downhill. When I'm doing the more magical or mystical work with it, it's really about nuefre and energy, how I'm connecting to the earth and the spirits of place. If you think about energy work while you're walking, if that's part of your practice, there is a frequency of energy that kind of comes from you and is a part of your body and organic self. Then there's also the energy of the earth you're walking on and the energy of the air and sky around you. So for me, when I'm doing energy work or a magical hike, I'm thinking very consciously about the exchange of energy as I'm breathing in from the sky and walking across the earth. And there's this cadence that develops as you step down and step up off the ground, and that energy exchange that happens, and it's a communication form, essentially. What gaps and rests happen as you traverse across the land says a lot about the land you're working on and you and how you interact with it. The staff is an interesting way of changing that cadence and changing the way energy is flowing and exchanging between the three elements: the sky, you, the earth. So for me, the stones that I've added, turquoise, lapis lazuli, and amethyst, are important to my practice, but also affect the sound that my staff makes as I'm walking. So there's kind of the cadence of the stick hitting the ground, there's the cadence of the stones hitting the staff, and there's the cadence of my feet walking across the land. And this sound, this language, this energy flow really affects how potent energy work during a magical hike is for me. So that's kind of my main focus when using a staff. So that's one of my favorite ways of using the staff, is to kind of create a new energy circuit with the earth, with my body, with the sky, and kind of focusing it and moving that energy in a different way. I've also used my staff when casting a circle for ritual. I don't exactly like point it long way up or anything, but I will hold it up when calling the quarters of my circle. Thanks for letting me share a bit about my Druid tools, which are not wands and athames, but instead include a pocket knife, a staff, and a sickle. If you have any unique tools that serve the purpose of a typical wand or athame, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Let's share stories about those more esoteric tools in our practice. Thanks for watching, and as always, may you find peace in the sacred grove.